Hello everyone, welcome to our math lesson for today. We are going to be working today on solving word problems using the chunking strategy. So we've been using the chunking strategy before, but now we're going to use what we know about that and apply it to some word problems and see how we can solve these problems effectively. All right, so for today, we're going to be using a resource page called Field Day. Okay, and you're going to be using this also with your homework for today. So it'll be posted on Google Classroom. So make sure that you are using this page because it's going to have all the information you need to be able to solve these problems. All right, so what's happening on this page is they're telling us that at this school at Hancock Elementary, they are having field day. So field day includes 3rd to 5th graders. So they gave us all the information about how many students are in each 3rd grade class, each 4th grade class, and each 5th grade class. All right, so you are going to need to know all of these numbers. You don't have to memorize them, but make sure that you are using this page so that you can find the correct number of students for each grade and for each class, because we will need those as we solve these problems. All right, so I'm going to keep that right off to the side here. Okay, and I'm going to take a look at our first problem here. Okay, so in the first event of the day, students must be in teams of 12. How many teams will there be? Are there any teams that are not full? And if so, how many are on it? Okay, so first thing I notice here is I only see one number in this entire problem. I only see the number 12, and that's talking about being divided into teams of 12. So I know what I'm dividing by. I'm dividing by 12 because I need to get into groups of 12, but what is my total going to be? Well, since we are using this reference page and we're talking about field day, and it says for the first event of the day, students must be in teams of 12. So they're talking about all the students here. Okay, so what I'm going to have to do is look at my page and figure out how many students I have and then put them into groups of 12 or teams of 12. Okay, so I have quite a few numbers here. I think I'm going to have to add all of these up to find my total number of students who will be competing in field day, and then I can divide them into groups of 12. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and, oh, there we go, we can see both. I'm going to copy my numbers from my reference page onto my notes, and I'm going to add these up. All right, so let's see. Starting with 3rd grade, I have 22, 21, 19, 21, 28, 30, 29, 28, 30, 32, 31, 28, and 29. Okay, that's a lot of numbers. I can add it up like this. I can use my standard algorithm, and I could do that. I could also, I like doing just combining, getting up to tens. So if you wanted to do that, if you wanted to write them all out and just combine until you got into groups of 10, you can do that also. I'm going to try it with the standard algorithm, see what I get. That's a lot of numbers to add, but I know I can do it. All right, so let's see. I'm going to look for groups of 10 here. So that's 10. Let's see. That's 10. Just looking for all my 9s and 1s first. That's 10. All right, I'm going to look for, let's see, 2 and 8. That's 10. Here's another 2 and 8. That's 10. All right, so let's see. I've used this 2. I've used that 1. I used 9. I used 1. I used that 8. I used 9. I used 8. I used 2, 1, and 9. Okay, so I only have 2 zeros and an 8 left over. Okay, so it looks like 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, and then this 1 8 right here that I did not get to combine with anything else. These zeros don't matter because they're not going to change my answer at all. So I have 50, or 1, 2, 3, 4. Yep, okay, 50, and then 8. So 58 is my total from a ones column. I'm going to put my 8 here, carry the 5 to my tens place. All right, I will do the same in my tens place. Let's see, I'm just going to look for combinations that would equal 10. So let's see, 5, 2, and 3, that's 10. Let's see, 2, 3, that's 5. And then again, 2, 3, that's another 5, so that's 10. 2 and 3, that's 5. Let's see, don't see any other 3, so I'm going to do 2, 2, and 1. That's another 5, so that's 10. All right, so let's see what's left. I have a 2, and that's it. Okay, so that's those 2 together, this one and this one, those are 4. All right, so that looks like it's 10, 20, 30, and then 4, so 34. All right, so it looks like my total is 348. 348 students all together who will be participating in field day. Okay, so now that I have my total number of students, now I can do the part of the problem that they were actually asking about, which is putting them in teams of 12. All right, so I'm going to take my 348 and I'm going to divide it by 12. Okay, I'm going to divide this into teams of 12. I'm going to see how many teams I get. All right, so let's look at this. First, I have 12. This is a 2-digit divisor. So that means I cannot put it into this 3. 12 does not go into 3. So I need to look at the next 2 digits, which is 34. 12 does go into 34. I know 12 times 2 is 24. If I went one more up, though, if I went up to 12 times 3, it would be 36. That's a little too much. So I'm going to have to stick with 12 times 2. And I'm putting it above the tens place because remember, I'm looking at both of these, not just the hundreds. I'm looking at both of these, so I'm putting it over this one. All right, so 12 times 2, that is 24. And then I can subtract. All right, 3 minus 2 is 1. 4 minus 4 is nothing. And then I'm going to bring down my 8. Okay, so now I have 108 here. I am looking at 108. All right, well, I know my math facts, and I know that 108 divided by 12, that equals 9, right? That's going to go in perfectly. So if I do 12 times 9 right here, that'll equal 108. And then if I subtract 108 minus 108, that's 0. I have nothing left over. Okay, so it looks like I have 29 for my answer. Now, what does that 29 mean? That's the tricky part. Let's look back at my question. They were asking me to divide into teams of 12, and then they said, how many teams will there be? Are there any teams that are not full? And if so, how many are on it? Okay, well, I divided them into groups of 12 and I got 29. So that means I got 29 groups of 12 or 29 teams of 12. So my answer is going to be, I'm going to write this out. There are 29 teams of 12. Then the second part said, are there any teams that are not full? And if so, how many are on it? Okay, well, let's look at my problem here. Are there any teams that are not full? I got an even answer here. I had no pieces left over, or in this case, students left over after I broke this into groups of 12, right? So I ended up with just the straight 29 with no extra pieces. So that means in this particular problem, I don't have any leftovers. Everyone is on an even team. So when I'm answering, are there any teams that are not full? No, there's not. They're all full of 12. We have no students who are left over. So I'm going to answer that by saying, let's see. No, there are no teams that are not full, okay? And you notice how I'm writing my answer in complete sentences. And we don't always do that in math. Sometimes we can just write an answer and circle it, right? But in this case, they asked me several questions up here, and I want to make sure that my answer is very clear that first of all, I'm answering there are 29 teams of 12. And then I'm answering, no, there are no teams that are not full. All right, so there's my answer. I answered both parts of the question. We found out there are 29 teams of 12 in the total number of students. All right, okay, let's look at our next problem. Okay, next problem says, for one game, students will be playing only against their grade level, but in teams of 5. How many teams are in each grade? If there are extra students, write how many students are not on teams. Okay, so it sounds like this one's going to be a little bit different. In the first one, it just said that all students, right? All students are playing this game, so we added up all the students. But this one is saying that students are only playing against their grade level. So I think what I'm going to have to do is add up each grade level separately. Doesn't sound like I'm going to add them all up because I'm looking at just 3rd grade, just 4th grade, and just 5th grade. Okay, so let's do that. Let me start with 3rd grade. Here's my reference page. 3rd grade is this one up here. I know you can't see the whole thing, but 3rd grade looks like, let me just label this so I don't get lost later. Okay, I'm going to do 22, 21, 19, and 21. And that's where I'm going to stop because I'm only looking at the 3rd grade students right now. I only want to know the total number of 3rd graders because 3rd graders are only playing against 3rd graders. So I should just know the total number of 3rd graders, and then I can divide them into their own 3rd grade teams. I don't want to mix in the 4th and 5th grade right now. They're all going to be separate for this particular problem. All right, so let me add these up. Well, you see right here, 9 and 1, that's 10. So 10 plus 2 more plus 1 more, that would be 13. So I'm going to put my 3 here, carry my 1. And then I'm looking at my 10s column. I have 2, 4, 6, and then 7, 8. All right, so it looks like I have 83 students in 3rd grade. Okay, now I am not done yet because I only found out the total number of students in 3rd grade. Now I need to divide those students into teams. All right, so I'm going to take my 83 and I'm going to divide them into teams. Now, how many were supposed to be on a team? Let's see my problem. Here we go. But in teams of 5. All right, so it sounds like I need to divide 83 by 5. So look at this problem. 5 going into 8. That can work. 5 goes into 8 one time. I'm going to put my 5 there and subtract, and I would get 3. And then I can drop down my 3. 5 going into 33. Well, 5 times 6 would be the closest. That would be 30. And then I'm going to subtract that, and I would have 3. Okay, now I have no more spots to drop down here. I finished dividing the whole number 83, but I still have this 3 left over down here. Okay, now my 3 is smaller than 5, right? I cannot put this 5 into this 3. If it was bigger than 5, if somehow I got an 8 or something down here, then something in my math would be wrong. Because if I can still put my divisor into my remainder, then I did not divide enough times, right? The remainder should always be smaller than your divisor because that's the pieces that are left over. Your divisor should not be able to fit into your remainder any more times. And like this, 5 cannot fit into 3 any more times. So that 3, those are the leftover pieces. I can't make another group of 5 out of it. So it's going to be my remainder of 3 for this problem. So it looks like I have 16 groups or 16 teams, and then I have 3 left over. All right, so let's look at our chart here. For 3rd grade, the number of teams we had, let's see, it looks like we made 16 teams. And then students not on a team, that would be anyone who was not put into one of these groups. Well, I had 3 left over. Those are 3 students who did not fit into one of these groups. So students not on a team for 3rd grade, there's going to be 3. All right. Okay, let's move on to 4th grade. Here's my 4th grade. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to divide this just so I can keep my work as organized as possible. In 4th grade, let's see, I have 28, 30, 29, and 28 students. I'm going to add those up. Let's see, 8 plus 8, that's 16. And then plus another 9. Let's see, 16 plus 9, that's going to be 25. So I'm going to put my 5 here, carry my 2. All right, 2 plus 3 is 5. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. All right, looks like 115 students in 4th grade. All right, now I need to do the same thing I did for 3rd grade. Divide this into groups of 5. So I'm going to have 115 students for 4th grade. I'm going to divide them into 5. 5 cannot go into 1, so I'm going to have to look at the next 2 digits. 5 can go into 11, and that would go in 2 times. 5 times 2 is 10. When I subtract that, I get 1. And then I can drop down my 5, and I have 15 now. 5 can go into 15, and it goes in evenly. 3 times, 5 times 3 is 15. Subtract that, and we have 0. I have no more place values to bring down. Looks like my problem is done. So it looks like I have 23 students in, or sorry, 23 teams in my 4th grade class when we divide them into groups of 5. So I have 23 teams. So I'm going to put that up here. For 4th grade, I have 23 teams. And then students not on a team. It looks like for this one, I don't have any leftovers. Everyone fit into a team evenly. So it looks like there are no students who are not on a team. Everyone's already on a team for 4th grade. Okay, let's do it one more time for 5th. 5th has the most amount of students. So let's add these up. We have 30, 32, 31, 28, and 29. All right, well, 8 plus 1, that's 9, and then 9 plus 9 would be 18. 18, and then 19, 20. Okay. Carry my 2. And then let's see, if I have 3 plus 2, that's 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. All right, 150 students in 5th grade. And then once again, we're going to do the same thing. I'm going to take 150 of my 5th grade students, and I'm going to put them into teams of 5. All right, 5 going into 15. Well, that would go 3 times. Oh, sorry, I forgot to mention, I already saw that 5 cannot go into 1, so I automatically looked at the 15. I said, well, 5 cannot fit there, so I'm going to have to look at these 2 digits. And I thought, oh, look, 5 does go into 15, and it goes in evenly 3 times. So 5 times 3 is 15. If I subtract those, it's 0. And then I'm going to bring down my 0. Okay, now, what do I do here, friends? I have 0. I can't put 5 into 0. I can't divide 0 5 times. If you have nothing, you can't divide it, right? So what am I going to do here? The lowest I could do is 5 times 1, right? 5 times 1 would be 5, and I can't subtract 5 from 0, so that wouldn't work. Oh, but there is something smaller than 1 I can multiply by. If I multiply 5 times 0, it's going to be 0. And then if I subtract those, guess what? 0 minus 0, that's 0. So I have nothing. So it looks like my final answer here is not going to be 3, but 30, because I had a 0 in my ones column. All right. So when we divide the 5th grade students into teams of 5, it turns out we get 30 teams. And then, once again, like 4th grade, I have nothing left over, right? No extra students, everyone's on a team. So in 5th grade, we have 30 teams, and we have no students left over. All right. All right, everybody, you're going to be using this same page and very similar types of questions for your homework today. Please let your teacher know if you have any questions, and good luck.